Welcome, fellow wine lovers. This is the Wineghosts podcast. I'm Nahe Rieslings, sommelier and seeker of hidden stories behind the wine labels. For wine tasting clips and video interviews with my guests, please look for the Wineghosts on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. But now, please grab a glass and listen to how today's ghosts get out of the bottle. I was lucky enough to record the 30th Wineghosts podcast in a classical villa built in 1888 in the picturesque Traisen village, Nahe region, Germany. This proud wine castle is home to the Crusius vintner family that has been making wine for 14 generations now. Rebecca Crusius, one of the youngest members of the family, was kind enough to host us in their dazzling tasting room for a genuine conversation and an impressive tasting. So if you are in a position to follow up on this podcast in video format, please feel free to watch our chat with Rebecca on the Wineghosts YouTube or Instagram channel. Rebecca has been telling us about characteristic vineyard sites like the Bastei GG, which is the smallest and one of the most fascinating Grand Cru sites in Germany. And believe me, that's something you wanted to see on video on the Wineghosts Instagram and YouTube channel as well. She also interpreted the different bedrock structures like red volcanic soil and loam, and what can you expect from different Crusius GG wines. Other than that, you can learn about unique grape varieties like Auxerrois and Frühburgunder and the different phases of the Nahe wine region. We also go a bit off topic and put the wine world in a bit broader perspective while tasting some of the best Crusius wines. I hope you like this episode and try some of these beautiful wines soon. And by the way, my favorite wine ghost was the Riesling Kupfergrube this time. Cheers! So we are sitting here in this beautiful tasting room, which was renewed in
5 years ago. So
5 years ago.
2015, yeah.
2015 with Rebecca Crusius. So thank you very much for your time and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And maybe we should just begin where we are sitting, maybe where we are located, and about maybe this microclimate and a little bit about the winery itself. How big is it? And
okay. Yes, so our winery is in the small village of Traisen, which is a part of the Nahe Valley, so in our region. And we're more of a cool climate wine region, and we have the most different soils in any region in Germany. So we have over 180 soils, and in every winery you will go, you will find different soils. We have 4 or 5 main soils we have for winemaking, and the winery itself we have 22 hectares, 55% Riesling, 25% Pinot Blanc, and the rest are different Pinot varieties, Grape, Pinot Noir, Pinot Madeleine, Pinot Meunier as well. Yeah. So and then it's a family-owned winery, so my parents, my sister and me are working inside the winery. My mother is mostly doing the customer contact and day-to-day business. My sister is in export and sales. My father and me are doing all day-to-day business and production, which means vineyards, cellar work. For me, the fairs as well. So I'm outside in sales too. Yeah. I'm basically everywhere.
Nice. Also in the cellar?
Yeah, cellar for sure. So I started full time in our winery back in February of 2018. So it's like about a year I've been here. So and there's now a slow process of me taking more and more action in the cellar, and my father less. So it's this process, yeah.
And where did you have the affinity maybe to winemaking? It's fully from the family, or did you also have some internships which really?
I first of all I never wanted to be a winemaker first, and I have 3 older siblings, and they were all studying business, and I was like, yeah, that's the same. I'll be studying business administration as well. Yeah. And then after a year, I was like, that's no way. I don't want to. I don't want to sit on a desk, and that's nothing for me. And then I started studying, or I applied to Geisenheim, and I did some internships. And my first internship was in Franconia with Max Müller in Volker. And then I started in Geisenheim, and then I did another internship in Rheinhessen with Dreißigacker. Then I went and did an internship in the Okanagan Valley in Canada with the Poplar Grove. And then I've been at Breuer at Rheingau.
And in Canada, you work mostly with Rieslings then, probably?
Actually not. There were half of the production were Pinot Gris, and the other ones were the international wine or the international varieties such as Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon. It was more the fun internship where you see all the stuff you won't be doing later, or not like where you're not focusing on. But it was quite a fun internship because it was so different from traditional winemaking in the traditional winemaking countries, because there are no rules, no boundaries. They're way more open-minded about winemaking. So it was quite fun.
And it was like a big impression on you, like maybe in terms of winemaking, the cellar work?
It showed you more how winemaking is used as a business, not as only as tradition and like the romantic side. It was more like, how do you make wine just for the market? And I think it was a good teaching point, but I wouldn't say it would influence my style of how I make Riesling.
So, just a fun other point of view.
Yeah, I mean, all internships are good for seeing what you could do and what you could adapt, but also for what you don't want to adapt. So this is what both sides are good for your, I don't know.
And do you maybe, if you also talk about tradition, because you have a long tradition, right, in winemaking in your family?
Yeah, so our name in combination with the winemaking in this village is first mentioned in 1576, so I'm the 14th generation. And my grandfather changed the winery from agricultural and winemaking to just winemaking. So in the 50s, and he started directly with bottled wines. So he never did bulk wine, which was usual for the time. So quite early we had the thought of quality wines in our family. So, and then end of the 70s, start of the 80s, my father joined the winery. And in 84 we joined VDP. So we were quite fast in the quality wine business. And then since mid 80s, my father was the main winemaker. And then I started studying in 2015.
And what does it mean, maybe in a day-to-day business, so to say, that you are the 14th generation? Do you maybe look back sometimes or think what they would have done? Or
I often think about what my grandfather would have done, because all my memories I have of him were always also working, no matter how old he was. So he was always there, and for sure there's a slight pressure on you, but our parents never expected from us to work in the winery. They would have said, if no one would have done it, would have sold it or would have found another solution. So we were free to do whatever we wanted. And but I mean, if you think about it, 14 generations, there's slight pressure on it. But I try to not think about it that much. But I mean, the beautiful thing is that you know that you're there to take care of what generations have taken care of, right? So, and I mean, the building we're sitting in is from 1888. The cellar is from 1890. So you work with the tradition all day.
Yeah, and you have this feeling probably also, right? If you like step inside this house, you kind of feel the history somehow.
So, somehow, sometimes, right? There's always like sometimes where you think, wow, I mean, we have barrels from 1890. They're not used anymore, sadly, but still, I mean, there's all this stuff.
Yeah, some people go to museums to see something like that, and then you have.
We could fill a museum with stuff from winemaking we have here.
And do you also have maybe old like records? What kind of grape varieties did they plant, and what kind of wines did they drink?
Like that far back, don't have any records. I just know what happened after, like, or starting from my grandfather, which was always Riesling as a main point or main grape, and also some grapes that were usual for the time, like Kerner, stuff like this. But also my grandfather started quite early with the Pinot Blanc, which was not common here in our region. Yeah.
And why?
I think he just wanted to, or maybe he saw some potential in it, wanted to try. And it kind of gotten some part of our philosophy to just try stuff, because in your day-to-day business, winemaking, I mean, everyone has his day-to-day business, right? And you always want to try new things. And then my father worked with a lot of different grapes for his dissertation, and then he just said, "Yeah, why not? I always only have a small plot, and like this, the amount you plant there won't matter for your all-in-all production." And he always says, "Why not try?" I don't know. We also have tiny plot of Gruner Veltliner as well, so which is really not common in our region. Right?
Really not.
Yeah. So that's how things are done here. Just try and trial and error, basically. Yeah.
And you also own kind of the same plots or same vineyards what your ancestors did?
Yeah, so we have some vineyards that have been in the family for hundreds of years. Yeah.
Nice.
And also, I mean, we've grown a lot. So my father took over with 7.5 hectares, and now we're 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, and that's all in like one. How far is it?
The furthest away is 15 kilometers, which is all the wine vineyards in Schloss Böckerheim, which are Kupfergrube, Felsenberg, which are quite known for the region. Yeah.
Okay. And you have mostly your own family working in the vineyard, or your own old friends, or how do you?
Actually, we have one main worker and an apprentice every year. Okay. And then we have people from Romania actually helping us. Right now we have 4 women here. And depending on the season, we have from zero to almost 20 people working here. In harvest, it's about 20 people in the vineyards. And there's like we have had Germans and old friends and people from the village, but it's nothing that is sustainable anymore. Nobody wants to work in the vineyards in Germany because the work is too hard. And we have, I don't know, 4 or 5 families from Romania that we all know and have known for years. They've known me since I was little, and they've been coming for many, many years. And so they're quite reliable. We know what we want, we know what they need, and they know what we need in the vineyards, so that's perfect. And can you manage it during this crisis to bring them over? It was a challenge. Or you smuggled them, maybe? Yeah. We had quite a few flights cancelled and delayed and everything. We had workers here before the crisis started, and they wanted to leave but weren't allowed. Then they stayed here, did some asparagus work actually for someone else, because we have had no work for them. And then they came back and we've had work again. I mean, I think they stayed 6 or 8 weeks longer than they wanted. And then they were ready to fly home, and we were just loading up the car, and then we got the text, "No, flight is cancelled," and again. So they somehow made it with the bus or a car. They found a way, yeah. And the flight, so now we've got 4 women, and they flew in, and that worked out fine. So there was no cancellation, nothing. It worked out fine. It was just harder to get them back home. Yeah. Yeah, that I think. And maybe about your microclimate, and also about this special vineyard, especially the GGs. Yeah. So how would you define maybe each of these characters and the GG Lage, the GG vineyards, because you have a lot of soil types or rock types in the vineyard, and also a lot of microclimates as well, or they are mostly similar? I mean, every vineyard is different, right? Because some are faced differently, or some is there's more rocks on the soil, some have more loam. But if you see our 5 GGs right before you, we start with Steinberg, which is where the soil is porphyry, so red volcanic soil, and it's a vineyard which we replanted recently. So there's an old part and a young part, and the young part was a vineyard many years ago, and not in our winery, and now we've replanted the vineyard, and it's faced from southeast to southwest, so we have all the exposure of the sun. It's super steep, almost no like fine soil, it's all just rocks basically, and it's a cool vineyard, and it's quite young, so it's the lighter GG, or the one part is quite young of the vineyard, and it's a lighter GG, more fruity, and it has a good acidity to it, and it's growing into being a big GG. And then it has this is one of the best plots of Traisen. And then we have its partner vineyard, which is Mühlberg, which is also a GG. And this is more mature, more, it's still fruity or fruit based, I'd say. It's citrus, white peach, which is for me classic Nahe Riesling. But I mean, you won't find the classic Nahe Riesling because of all those soils. And there we have more loam in the soil, but also the porphyry. And if you compare those two next to each other, this is the more grown-up version of a fruit-based GG. And then we have 2 Crusius from Schloss Böcklein, which is a completely different soil. It's melaphyre. So this is black volcanic soil, which has a lot of air in it and a lot of different other tiny stones. And all in all, the taste is more, I would even say darker, and more herbs, more salty, less primary fruit. So this is quite cool. So to have the complete contrast, and this is these are 2 vineyards. Felsberg is just like completely south-facing steep slopes, a lot of rocks, like quite typical. And then Kupfergrube is right next to Felsenberg, which is same soil, almost same exposition to the sun, but it has also a small cliff behind it, which is all like this black volcanic soil, which gets super hot in summer. And the wines are always, Felsenberg is always the one that needs the most time and is to get to where it needs to be, and it's more the, I don't know how to say it, more, it's a difficult part, I'd say. It's like the difficult GG. It's always the one where I'd say hobby wine drinkers have their problems, and all the soms and people from restaurants, they was like, oh, this is the best one, right? Because it's so hard to get. Yeah. And Kupfergrube has a little bit more acidity to it, so it's always the straighter one, like in comparison to Felsenberg. And then our most important and most famous GG is Bastei, which is the smallest GG plot, as I know, in Germany, which is right underneath the cliff of 200 meters. So, and this is just right underneath the cliff. All the rocks are gathered right from the cliff that fall down there, and that's where the plants grow. So there's just rocks.
This is the one next to the road?
Yeah. Did you drive by it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what we thought, like, for these people, they just found a little piece of land and they cultivate wine there.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 VDP wineries in this plot, and it's Gut Hermannsberg and us. So, and yeah.
You are in good company.
Yeah, for sure. And it's such a weird place, right? Because it's right underneath the 200-meter cliff, right next to the road, right next to the railroad, right next to Nahe River. So there's no space. And it's still steep slope, but super short slopes. And it's south-facing as well, so in summer it gets really, really hot there. We work there until 9 a.m. maybe, and then it's too hot in summer, so it's crazy. And also the river acts like kind of mirror and heats it up as well.
Yeah, it doesn't cool down.
No, it won't cool down. The river is too small actually. So they will have water. The roots are connected to water, but the river will help heat up the area. So it's quite hot, quite rocky, but still connected to water, which makes it such an intense wine. And
then maybe you could also plant more red varieties here, also in the region.
In the region, I'd say so. Yeah. I mean, a lot of, or in my opinion, a lot of Riesling plots are also or also good plots for Pinot Noir, right? But for me, it's not. I don't know, nothing to focus on. I will do Riesling as long as it works, but I mean, we will see what happens with the climate change. I don't know, in 20 years, I don't know, best vineyards, which are super hot right now, will maybe be too hot. I'd say there's going to be change in vineyard quality, or we have to change our view of vineyard quality maybe. But yeah, there are some people that are doing way more reds than we do. I mean, for us, it's 2 or 3%. So
but you also have a pretty rare red grape variety, which is Frühburgunder.
Yes.
Or Pinot Madeleine.
Yeah. It was one of those varieties which my father just saw and liked, and he was trying it out. And we do a Pinot Noir and a red out of it. Yeah.
And how do you find it acting in the vineyard?
Actually quite good. We don't have it on our best vineyards because those are reserved for Rieslings, for sure. So, but it's doing quite good. Sometimes it's a little bit slow in growth, but I mean.
But it's also quite early ripening, right?
Yeah, for sure. So it's in the last 2 years, it's been the first vineyard we harvested, at least for Pinot Noir. So.
And also, but that's also before the Riesling or only before the Pinot Noir?
Before everything. It's actually the first one of all of them.
Oh.
But for reds, maybe a little later, but one of the first 2 weeks maybe. And Pinot Noirs, if you say harvest is 6 weeks, I'd say the last 3 to 4 weeks are Riesling, and in the middle it's gonna be Pinot Noir. So Pinot Madeleine, always the first one.
The first one.
At least for the Pinot Noir.
And another quite rare grape variety, or not so typical, is Auxerrois, what you have. And this variety, how it's also an experiment from your grandfather?
Yeah, it used to be an experiment from my father actually, but it soon got into one of our main varieties. We almost have 10% of Auxerrois, so we have 2 hectares. And it's gotten quite important because one of our main wines, which is not Riesling, is the Weißburgunder Auxerrois, which is almost 50-50 blend of Pinot Blanc and Auxerrois. And we think it's a kind of good variety to get that creamy, elegant Pinot Blanc to a little bit more juicy, a little bit more bite to it. And it's one of those wines that's just for easy drinking, like patio wine, right? And it's quite known, at least in the area. It's one of those wines that the people from here drink a lot. So that's why it's quite important. And we use Auxerrois in other plants as well. And we just every year then we try something new. And for example, we did the sparkling out of Auxerrois, which was, I don't know, in the end 13 months on the lease, so it was quite champagne-like, which did work well with the aromas of the Auxerrois.
But it has kind of a milder acidity, right? Or milder than a Riesling or a Pinot Blanc even.
Yeah, it's even milder than a Pinot Blanc, and it is. But I don't know, we kind of gotten to know how to work with it. It's not the easiest grape variety, but I think we found our way with it, and it's quite good. Yeah, I think we're in our region. We're the second biggest grower of Auxerrois.
Because it's known mostly in Alsace, right?
Yeah, I know it from Alsace, from Baden as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and Luxembourg, also upper Mosel. Yeah.
And do you also taste those wines?
The Auxerrois, yeah. I try to, but you don't find them that often, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, because that's really interesting. Just how not only maybe in Edelzwicker, but what you can get in Alsace, but as a single varietal, it's really pretty hard to get. So
yeah, for sure.
But it would be interesting. So maybe can we taste the first wine then?
For sure. This has been a dry interview so far. So.
Oh, and you have glass?
No, it's just for convenience right
okay.
now. So we use cork and screw cap.
Okay.
So the basic to medium quality is screwed, and then up in the upper quality it's with a cork. So, yeah.
And why actually? It's only for to show maybe the quality also with the cork, or
actually no, it's for us. So it's also a generation thing, right? So my sister started earlier in the winery as I did, and she always fought for the screw cap because it's more convenient. It's more it just makes sense business wise, right? Because it's so much cheaper.
Yeah.
And also for the wines that I drank or that are supposed to be drunk in the first 1 or 2 years, it's just why should you put a cork on it, right?
Yeah, true.
Because you want corks on wines that are supposed to evolve and have some time. And then we started screw caps last year, and now we're up at 60-70% of production are screwed, or our screw caps. And we're quite happy with it, actually. But I still want the Erste Lager and Große Lager to be corked, because those are wines that I see more time to ripen than just a year. So I just want to have that influence, and also I think it's kind of, it just shows the quality you buy, right?
Yeah, true.
And I mean, we talked about the tradition. I don't know. It just
belongs
Riesling, it belongs with it, right? So,
yeah. Because I think glass corks are actually a cool way in between, I think. They never really took off in Germany. I think the machines are quite expensive, I think, and then this the silicone ring isn't, or people weren't sure with it how it would influence the wine. Okay. I did some tastings where all the different kinds of closures were compared to each other, but we haven't gotten to a conclusion, a good conclusion about it. So. Because I think it's a bit more expensive than a screw cap, right? But not nearly as much as.
I don't actually know the prices for it. We just use them for convenience for already open wines, which is quite easy or quite good. Yeah.
Thank you. And what are we drinking now?
So right now we have the Connection blend in our glass. It's 2019 vintage. So the blend is one of us. We do a lot of blends just for, I don't know, again, as I said, a lot of trial and error in this family. And we were always trying to find or do the blend that's purely made out of Pinot or white Pinot varieties. And that's how we've gotten to this one, which is 40% each Auxerrois, Pinot Blanc, then 10% each Pinot Gris and Chardonnay. But I mean, the parts vary every year. It's just about. And the small partners often are fermented on oak barrels, so we have this light oakiness, which makes it more full-bodied, and I think it's quite good partner for food and for pasta dishes, for chicken, rice, and it works quite well and restaurants as well. And it's one of those people pleasers without being completely oak Chardonnay, right?
Yeah. So the nose, I think it was very feminine, so to say. It's very delicate, really, very elegant nose, and very whitish. I would say it's a really white peach flesh and this kind of white flowery nose. It's apple blossom and this really this light, elegant nose. But the palate, it has more weight than I expected.
Yeah.
And it really has some mid palate weight, so to say. It doesn't just run through and that's it, but it sits a bit on the mouth. Really, really nice aromas, really ripe aromas, but very light, elegant wine. How would you maybe describe it, or what's your aim always with this kind of cuvée?
I mean, your description was quite good so far. So, our aim is to find a wine that is, medium weight, but higher quality than any day-to-day drinking Pinot Blanc, right? Yeah. So, and you want a wine that has the potential to age for a few years and will still get better, but it's also ready to drink right after bottling. And this is where the light oakiness comes into play, because you want some smoothness and I'd say it's elegant and it's smooth, but there is no corners.
Yeah,
like it's
exactly.
Yeah, and that's nothing you would want from a wine that's just supposed to be paired well with a lot of foods and just goes well and easy drink, as still easy drinking, but more weight to it.
Yeah,
and which just wants you to drink the wine and like get another glass or get another bottle.
Yeah, true, and that's the aim is not compromise. So
no, I'd say that's an aim for almost every wine we make, because in the end, no matter how complicated or how easy drinking you produce of a wine, in the end you want to have a wine that you want to have another glass of or another bottle, because the taste in the end is the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
So
we actually just had the white asparagus with sauce béarnaise. I think that would be perfect with this wine.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. But also quite long after this, so but the acidity is very well integrated. So it's because Pinot Noir, Pinot Blanc, as you said also, it has some maybe corners sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's really, well rounded and just a good integration. I think it's almost on the edge of aromatic side, but still kind of neutral, but very delicate. So. And what are you drinking in your free time?
Of my own wines or of wines that I buy?
Both, maybe, because you probably have some aim if you, or a special taste if you are a winemaker, right? What you want to follow.
Yeah, I mean, I've been lucky and I've grown into a winery that is quite well known, and the quality we produce is quite high. So the bet is made, right?
Yeah.
So, but I still have different views on what my father produces, and I still think I would change some things, but not everything, right? There is nothing going wrong here, so there's not everything to change, and it's quite the same with my personal taste of wines. I would say I like my wines always a little bit more on the acidity side, so a little bit more acidity, a little bit slimmer and more straightforward. But I mean, I've known our soils and I've known our wines for quite some time, and I think we're still going to be a winery that produces Rieslings that are still, or have a lot of fruit with it, because that's just how this soil, how profile works for us. But I think you could make it a quite more modern with a little bit more acidity. Yeah. And for our Pinot Blanc wines, I would say it's just easy drinking is the goal. Except for, I don't know, the connection and our high-end Pinot Blanc. And same for my my private consumption basically. But I mean, I'm open to try anything actually, because that's the fun part, because there's so much variety in the market, and then you just want to try everything and anything, and it's always, you can always get some inspiration out of it.
Yeah.
Or as I said, you can learn how you want to do it and how you don't want to do it.
Yeah, true. And I also asked because of the soil, because volcanic soil is has a little hype nowadays, I think, or more and more people got into it, and maybe just look for the connections, how these different soil types and rock type and volcanic soils just have this also salty kind of grip to it.
Yeah.
All of them, and you also mentioned it, so I'm also kind of curious if you look for specific wines which have maybe the same rock type or same microclimate.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to taste those, for sure, because, I don't know, the winemaker, that he has the same soils, or that he has the same philosophy, and I don't know what he does in the summer, stuff like that. So that's always quite interesting to taste, but also I just want to try wines from all over the world. But for sure, I'm a big German wine drinker. Okay. And if I drink Riesling, it's a lot of I'd say colleagues from Nahe. Then I drink Rheingau a lot. And if I go to the reds, it's a lot of Baden actually. Okay. So, yeah.
Which ones maybe?
Which
grape varieties? Yeah.
Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, but it's also Pinot Noir has a little hype right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And if I drink white Riesling, it's a lot of Cabernet. Okay. But also hyped right now, so, which is good. Yeah. It's just a fun wine. Fun way of wine. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's just like lemonade for grown-ups.
True, and the summer is coming, so yeah, lemonade for grown-ups. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's always, I mean, it fits always, right? It's Sunday, it's 4 p.m. in the afternoon. True. Cabernet, fine. Yeah. It's middle of the night. Cabernet is fine as well. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. Can we taste maybe the next one?
Yeah, for sure. So next one would be Funfest, which is my, I'd say, go-to wine for every day from us. Okay. So it's a VDP Ortswein made from all the Riesling vineyards in Traisen. And for me, it's basically what I want from a wine in like the starting category, being the connection out of fruit and minerality as well. And still, it works on its own, but also has enough depth to it to work with food as well. I think.
Yeah, it has a lot more minerality. Actually, yeah, the little rocks starting to bump in my mouth. These are more corners, but really delicate, so not this bladey when you have a sharp blade and you want to scratch your mouth, but
yeah, it's kind of how you said it's a little bit rocky basically, and I think it's got some saltiness to it as well. True. But also you have this also white peach, but more fruity white peach, maybe also a little bit exotic.
Yeah, for me it's more citrus, to be honest. Yeah, a bit more exotic. Yeah, but it's in terms of harvest. When do you harvest it from this?
So this is basically dry Cabernet. Okay. So early stages of Riesling harvest, I'd say we will get it with 90-ish excellent. But I mean, for me, it's more how the grapes taste and how I've known the vineyards to be at the point, right? I mean, analysis like Auxerrois are important just to see are they ripe? Yeah. But you will always have to taste the grapes if you're on the point where you want to be. And also, we have a lot of plots of Riesling in Traisen, so this is also out of different vineyards in Traisen, which are coming together to show how the soils taste here.
That's more animating also.
The acidity is way higher than in the Pinot blend before. So, I mean,
Yeah, but the nose is also much more. It's really. So this is what you said. It's your everyday wine. What you would like to drink?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And lease contact also.
Yeah, but not too long. I'm trying to get them off the lease somewhere between December and January for the basic Rieslings, and some I'd say from the it's basically at end of January, February latest. We will separate them from the lease. Yeah.
But so how was the vinification for this one?
It's stainless steel, mostly how do we say it, with the just bought yeast. So we don't use a lot of commercial yeast. Yeah. We don't use a lot of wild yeast, which is part of also my father's philosophy. This is something I'm more open to it than he is. But we're just doing every year. We will have some more tanks that are wild fermented.
Okay.
And they work extremely well in blends. I mean, if I blend this wine, it's 4 or 5 different Rieslings, right, from Traisen. Yeah. So they can be one tank of wild fermented and 4 tanks of commercial yeast, and it works quite well, I think. And completely stainless steel. We do use oak for like old oak barrels for Riesling as well. For the we use big ones, like 2,400 liter ones. Okay. Which they don't have a lot of influence on it. And then we use small oak barrels for the GGs. So 300 liters, almost a barrique. But our own sizes from our cooperage here in the area.
You should try to. It's good. And why do you put the GGs in smaller barrels?
It's not all of the GGs, but for example, Felsenberg, we use a lot of oak with it, and it just complements the way of the vineyard, in our opinion. And it's not. Some parts are fermented on oak, and some are fermented on stainless steel and later put on the oak. So it's a little bit lighter. Yeah. So.
But what does it? Maybe in the vinification, what is really the difference between a footer? What you say for a footer is bigger.
No,
right?
footer is 1,000 liters.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a 300 liter.
Which would be Viertelstück.
Okay, Viertelstück. So how would you say that it changes the wine? The 300 liter and the.
For sure, you have with the 300, you have definitely oak taste, not only micro-oxidation you would get from bigger barrels.
But still, after a second, third, I don't know.
Yeah, it's used 10, 15 times actually, because for us, like the usage, it's more like if it's a good barrel, it'll stay a good barrel, and the impact will be less and less, but still fine.
But do you get it more in the tannins or the aromas or? What is texture?
It's more the aroma and texture, I'd say. It gets way more smooth, and this in combination with the good Riesling acidity, you have like a smooth, but not too heavy. But it's not too heavy, right? Yeah. And it kind of gives the wine some elegance, and a little bit more well-rounded, which is quite the opposite of. Kupfergrube, which is not on oak, which is more the straightforward shooter, which is more has some edges to it, but quite acidic. So it's just one of those ways to influence it, but also we mostly use oak for Felsenberg or as well as small parts of Bastei. So those are the vineyards that work better with oak, and then the other ones which are more primary fruit, such as Mühlberg, we wouldn't put on oak because it would just kill like the fruitiness. Yeah. It would overlay it with oak.
No, I really asked this question because I work as a sommelier, but I try to work up those years which I didn't spend in Geisenheim.
But yeah, that's a lot of what I tell you is also seeing what has worked and what hasn't worked in all those years. It's quite,
also an instinct and also some tradition, right?
Yeah.
Tradition. We always come back to this one.
Yeah, always. The winemaking in the old wine country, it's always tradition in the end, or how to break tradition.
Yeah, but it's also interesting when we're talking about volcanic soils, because I come from Hungary, and in the Balaton uplands there are a lot of, so it's basically volcanic terroir, and there are a lot of winemakers who also experiment with a lot of grape varieties. So for example, Chenin Blanc, and which is not so traditional in the Balaton uplands, but also Rieslings and a lot of grape varieties, and sometimes I think some wine regions have a really big advantage if they have a traditional profile. Like also in terms of grape varieties and also in vinification. When you buy a bottle, you don't have to write the grape varieties on it or where does it come from, or maybe just where it comes from, and you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Also in terms of texture and aromas and ageability also. So I think also because the Nahe is very mixed, not only in terms of soil, but also in terms of maybe also grape varieties. It really comes down to tradition and traditional wineries, and their way of doing things and work with grape varieties, and maybe the Nahe also has more faces, right? Than only really, like if you think about Moselle, okay, that's Riesling, or Rheingau, that's Riesling. Yeah. But Nahe has more faces, right?
Yeah, way more faces. I mean, in lower Nahe, there's a lot of Pinot Blanc, a lot of Chardonnay, a lot of Auxerrois, right? Because they have the more loamy soils. And then you go middle and upper Nahe is predestined for Riesling. Yeah. They have the steep slopes. They have all those rocky soils. I mean, there's also steep slopes and rocky soils in lower Nahe, but this is the main part where we are now. And since I think that's what's so hard for Nahe with the customers is that they can't put a finger on how should Nahe taste. Yeah. I mean, if you think Rheingau, if you think Mosel, as you said, you're gonna know what you're gonna get roundabout. And if you think Nahe, it's I don't know. It always depends on the winemaker. And I've recently had some customers here that are also customers at Hermannsberg and Dunhoff, and they know the way around Nahe. Yeah. And I say Funfest is for me. This is Nahe. This is Nahe Riesling, and they would say no way. The wines from Schloss Böckelheim, so Kupfergrube, would be Nahe for them, which are quite different. But I mean, we produce both areas. Yeah. So just depends on where you lay your focus at Nahe. True. Yeah.
I also refer to the Balaton uplands because they don't have a really. I mean, they lost kind of during the communist the tradition and what the kind of the grape varieties as well and the face. Yeah. But they always come back to the soil because they have all volcanic soil, and that's the sticking part maybe between them. But you also have a lot of soil types or rock types, so it's also not.
Yeah, maybe we just unite over having so many different soils. So Nahe is gonna be a lighter style Riesling, I'd say. Yeah. Always mineral, always rocky, like always a little bit salty. Yeah. And how you would describe it further is just completely different with every winemaker, I'd say. Yeah. I'd always say, lighter, more elegant Rieslings, not as acidic as Rheingau, and not as warm as maybe Pfalz. Yeah. Cool. So next one, right?
Next one,
which is Funfest, which is our biggest erste Lage, and it's right there in our village as well. Also, again, red volcanic soil, as I said, our main soil. So this is basically the big brother of the Funfest.
Wow. Yeah, that's also in terms of minerality, we go up to ladder.
Yeah, I mean, you can just, if you see our range of Rieslings, you could do from this vineyard, basically, you could do from the basic to the highest GG. You could just go up the ladder and always try one. And this is quite cool to just show people that we have so many different small vineyards here in this town or in this village, and you can really show them what it means to go up in quality and to go up in more, if you put more work into it, more effort, then and you can taste it in the wine.
Yeah, really. But also I think the fruit is getting also riper in this, so almost this apricot kind of direction. You should also try it. Sorry. And this is a Premier Cru, right?
Yes, it's Premier Cru.
And where do you mostly sell your wines?
Mostly customers, right, in the winery. So I'd say 60-ish% actually, or even more. Then we do resellers as well, quite a few. Then small amount of export. Then also small amount of restaurants directly, but they're mostly handled from or with the resellers basically.
But so the gastronomy is not your biggest?
No. Our biggest is actually the customers that contact us directly.
Okay.
So, which was quite helpful for now for the prices.
Probably that's why I also asked, because yesterday, for example, Dio said that they mostly sell to restaurants or HoReCa, so
quite hard. Yeah. So we've been quite lucky. I mean, for sure we've noticed, and I mean, they're also still quite good partners, the restaurants, and you don't want to see them suffer. And I mean, you will miss those incomes, but I'd say the customers, the private customers, they've drank more than before, which is good. Yeah.
How would you describe this wine, maybe?
I mean, your description is quite good. I think it's a quite mineral but warm Riesling, but with an elegance to it because of the elegant acidity, and it's quite. I mean, you've said apricot. It's just those stone fruits, basically.
Really, because I think it's interesting to see sometimes Riesling can go really this happily direction, or this really other stone fruits, I would say. So this peachy apricot is more on this side. So yeah, you can list 5 descriptors, but it's not a WSET exam, so I don't actually prefer this. It's not, I think, not the most important part of a wine, but maybe just texture-wise and just to feel it. I would also put it maybe between Rheingau and Pfalz.
Or maybe because you still have the acidity, but you have those ripe fruits and these aromas from which you would expect from Pfalz, exactly, but you have that lightness that Rheingau Riesling has.
I would say it's more elegant than I am.
Yeah,
and more. How would you say Trinkfluss is
in German? That's like, how would you say it in English? I don't know.
You want to drink it.
Yeah.
Kind of. But it is.
Yeah, and that's also our aim, as I said, for every wine we make. Right? Because in the end, it's just about the glasses and bottles you drink, and it's always supposed to be fun and not hard work. Sometimes I enjoy a wine that you can sit with for hours, and it changes and it changes, and you're thinking what is happening, and you're trying to get into the wine, but in the end, you've drank a bottle over the whole night. And if you want to sit with friends, you want to drink a lot of bottles, and you want to just have fun and enjoy.
True, exactly. Hear the whispers. Yeah, but it is. I imagine it would change, or it's good to. I have some categories of wine in my mind, and I think that fits the one that you have to buy a bottle in a restaurant, and you can kind of drink the whole evening with it. Because it would be nice, I think, with a garlic cream soup as well.
Oh yeah.
But it would be also nice with some desserts, which has maybe some mascarpone or things like this, because it's nice, because it has some salinity but not aggressive acidity, and it would complement almost everything, because it has this really inorganic element to it, I think. So it is slight salinity, but this kind of, but not on the magnesium side, which you have some sweetness, but really this salinity kind of
Yeah.
rocky element, but it has nice, nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Really.
Yeah, for me, like this is how Nahe Riesling tastes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just, if you would taste a Nahe Riesling, that's it for me.
That's
but
good.
if you go to any other winery, they would have another one that would taste completely different, which would be Nahe Riesling for them.
Yeah. Do you also have maybe older vintages that you tried or you could try?
Yeah, we have 70. So we in the winery still have 17, 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
So and I have them here, but we try to keep more stock of the old vintages, but it's hard.
And
I mean, often you sell it and you're like, I was supposed to keep, I don't know.
Yeah, true. And but what was maybe the oldest that you tried? I also asked it because of ageability, maybe.
Of this one?
Probably, yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know actually. I mean, as I said, our stock is quite low on aged wines, and for this one, it's always. I mean, my parents always were more the people of what is sold is fine. So they didn't keep stock of any of those. Okay. And we have some of the GGs in stock. So I think the oldest GG of ours that I have drunk is 2007. But I mean, we haven't started beforehand with GGs, right? So it started somewhere there. Mm-hmm. And they're great. Depending on the vintage, I mean, but 7, 13 is great as well. 10 was good, or I had a Bastei Magnum of 10, which was great. I mean, it's always fun if you have them. I have them aged GGs, but it's hard to find them, even for us in our storage. Yeah. I guess so, but it's I mean, for this one, I'd say 5 years, for sure. Yeah, at least. Yeah. Okay, nice. Do you have the Bastei also, as you said, yes,
right?
And also Kupfergrube.
Oh, yeah.
So we have another soil. I will just get it.
Okay. So now
next one would be Kupfergrube. It has been open a few days, but I think it's quite good because you can see how it would change with some oxidation, because it's one of quite closed up right now, actually. So that's why I chose the open bottle. 18 vintage, right? So how was this vintage here? 18? I'd say one of the more easy vintages, uncomplicated year. Basically, less rain than we needed it, but we almost gotten used to it. So it was quite hot. The most beautiful grapes we've ever had. So it's just they looked like they were painted. There was nothing on them. You could just our team was harvesting so fast because it was just so easy. They just took every grape. Everything was ripe. That was good. We started quite early. Actually 4th of September maybe. So it's the earliest we've ever harvested. 3 weeks earlier than normal. So. It's more on the not the wine, but the vintage is more on the heavier side, more fruit, more body. And for me, I like the slimmer years, 19, 17, 16. But my father, he prefers 15, 18, 3. Right? The warmer ones. Yeah, the warmer ones. But I mean, that's also fun to see. Yeah, it's not, the nose is not too intense, I would say. No, but it never is with this one, in my opinion. And I think now with a little bit more air, it shows a little bit more of this darker soil. There's way less fruit than any other of our wines. I'm actually struggling to find some fruit. Yeah. Because in the nose. How do you say it? Yeah, there's just nothing but stone and soil. Yeah, true. Yeah. No, so I don't really get the flesh of the grape. I get the skin and where it came from. You don't de-stem, or? No. Whites, no. Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole cluster. But
the nose has more fruits. I think this white grapefruit kind of thing.
Yeah, white grapefruit, because it has this light bitterness, or
Yeah.
at least phenolic
True. Yeah.
part of.
Yeah. And maybe light gingery character, I would say. This maybe also a hint of this white peppery kind of this grapes.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's far from fruit, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean that's like now for you, right? That's 7 kilometers from here. It's completely different.
Completely different, yeah. But it's also these 4 wines, or at least the 3 the Rieslings, it was really from the fruity till the Trinkfluss. From the fruity till the to really this. And this rocky, wow.
I got some more, no worries.
Wow.
I have a word in mind. I don't know it in English. You know, kark.
Kark, yeah.
So there's nothing there. It's just like,
kark, yeah. Sparse. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's for me. And also I think it's a weird thing to say, but I think it tastes, or you can taste that the soil is darker.
Yeah,
it tastes
kind of
dark, right? Because the other ones are so fruity, and they're so you taste that they have the warm influence of the sun, those warm fruits as well.
Yeah, true.
And for this one, it always tastes like.
Yeah, but also as you described the vintage, I actually expected a bit more ripe fruit aromas, but that's really this. But you cannot really taste rocks. I mean, this is just a sensation, but it's really overtones and this layer on it. But it really needs some food, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But for me, it's one of my favorite vineyards actually, because it's so different and it's so special, and it's one of those. As I said, it's quite slim and straightforward shooting, but still elegant, and I just.
Yeah, and it's really a gastro wine, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also one of those that is hard to sell to private customers because they don't know how to handle it. And,
true. With some salty fish, that would be really nice. With some sea, wow. Yeah.
But I mean, it's also super young. It started to close up like 2 or 3 months ago. Before it was quite more open. There was also a little bit more fruit, and now it just needs some time. And
can I have another sip?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have maybe like a favorite wine region outside Germany which you drink?
That's quite hard.
Because if you really like this wine, or this is one of your favorite, I also maybe would go back to the volcanic soil, the volcanic terroirs, because sometimes I would get this. I once had a wine from what is this, Port Azores?
Ah, right, yeah.
And I don't remember the grape variety anymore, but they had this really like this smoky, but that's really a smoky character. Nice. And this, I think that's kind of similar, or like a Greek wine from like an Assyrtiko, but it's really this kind of, I wouldn't say it in a blind tasting that it's a Riesling, to be honest. Not really? Because it has a higher acidity, but it doesn't have the Riesling notes in my mind.
It has it doesn't have that many aromas springing at you.
Yeah, but it really reflects this place. It's
I mean, if you see the vineyard, it's like, I mean, I have some pictures. I can show you.
Cool.
And also I can show you the soil.
Love it. Cool, no?
So the ones we had before, this is the red volcanic soil we have, right? So this is the stones. This is also from what this the cliff is made of. So this is all it's red because of the oxidation of iron. Yeah, iron oxidation. And the one from Kupfergrube is this one.
Oh, okay.
So, and you have a little bit more air and also different other stones. So this is quartz. And if you see the vineyard, So our part is here, and you have this cliff, just like small cliffs just behind it, right? And this is all Kupfergrube, and this is it is of Gut Hermannsberg. Then you have Schäferfröhlich here, and this is ours as well, but this is way less steep. This is what we use for cabinet, for example. And so you see, it's just also, again, just rocks.
Yeah. Sparse, what you said, sparse?
Sparse, I think, yeah. I mean, if you look at this and when you drink the wine, it just fits, right?
Yeah. And what is this green?
This is copper. So the name Kupfergrube is basically copper pit.
And it's green?
Copper goes green, yeah. I mean, if you have those old copper statues you see in cities.
When it's oxidized.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in German, there's a word for it. It's Grünspan.
Okay.
So it's just copper turning green, and this is copper, and that's why Kupfergrube is called copper pit. Yeah.
Nice.
That's where it's got its name from.
Wow, this is, I just cannot spit it out. Beautiful. I really like these wines. Like it with the salty character.
Yeah, sure.
They have something extra to them, I think.
Yeah, if you imagine this, like the Rotenfels being way more, and then you've got kind of the grip of what Steinberg and Mühlberg would be. Yeah. And I think this is so completely different, and that's why it's so fun. And it's just, I don't know, black and white.
Yeah, it's just really.
Complete opposite. Even though, you know, I mean, you taste it and you taste it's volcanic soil.
What is maybe your aim or your future goals with the vineyards? Do you want to experiment as well as your father or your grandfather with something? Or?
I think just I don't know. It'll turn out as I go. I don't know. I'd say I still want to have my focus on Riesling for sure. And I want to produce more Chardonnay because we have just one vineyard, and I think it's an underrated grape, and it works well right now. But I think it's just a grape that would always work well. Example for example, like the Auxerrois in blends, it would always work well. And I like it a lot as well for just like in my career to drink, right? And I think if you also go on those sparse soils, Chardonnay is going to be interesting, maybe. I don't know. And
it's also because of the sparkling, because they also produce sparkling. Yeah?
We do produce sparkling, but it's not one of my my priorities. I'd say it's a fun thing to produce, but it's for me, Riesling is supposed to be in the focus.
And you also have you work conventionally now in the vineyard, so? And you also want to go more into this biodynamic kind of direction?
Biodynamic, no. More acting more closer to nature for sure. But for now, we haven't found the way to just be organic with in our vineyards. But I think we should just as much as needed, but as little as possible, right? So. And you also want to like maybe do something in the cellar which kind of experimental maybe in the future, or in terms of winemaking which you would like to try out? I won't be the person to produce orange wine or natural wines for sure, because I think it's kind of fun to drink it once in a while, but it's nothing that speaks for me as a winemaker from tradition, right? And having all those vineyards, and I think for me it's not that kind of wine that is produced that shows where it comes from. I mean, if you tasted this wine and you see the vineyard, you can just put the wine and the picture together. And I feel like that's the most important thing, to just be true to what you have and what you own and what you can produce out of the vineyard. And for me, it's more those small changes I want to make. and experimented small experiments, but not with a big bang and saying, I don't know, it's all in forest now or granite, or it's just to like step by step and find my style of not typical and Riesling, and also for wines that are completely showing from what vineyard they're coming from.
Would you also maybe plan to open some vinoteca or restaurant here?
I don't know if someone else would take care of it. Yeah,
because it's a beautiful place what you have.
It
also
is,
the garden.
It is. So we have some events where we use it. Like we always have one concert in start of September.
Okay.
So and it's almost always outdoors here in the yard. And it's jazzy, poppy music, and we have like 300 people coming just enjoying the music. That's fun. Then we have the annual tasting, and I started some tastings that are for smaller groups of 20 people, and always inviting another female winemaker. So it's just because there are not too many female winemakers, but I think there are great female winemakers in Germany and also all over. And it's always fun to just try wines. And I mean, it's for our customers, but every customer, it's fun to just learn or just meet new people and meet new wineries.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So I've had Hannah Selbach from Selberossa from Mosel with me. Then it was planned with Lisa Bund from Nierstein, but I mean it was cancelled because of Corona. And I did one with Julia Seifert from Diefenhardt in Rheingau, and also VDP Winery. And it's just fun to taste different wines from different areas with a like smaller group of people. And in the summer times we use the garden. So it's just like small tables in the garden outside, and just like a chill vibe, having like hanging out, tasting a little bit of wine, eating a bit of food.
And how is it actually to be a female winemaker? Do you have disadvantages, or do you have advantages, or do you have?
It depends on where you're going. I think being a female winemaker, I've been once asked if females produced different wines from males, and I think every winemaker produces just different wines, and it isn't combined with the sex or gender. And I think being a female winemaker is still special, but even though there are so many more women in the industry, and for sure there are situations where people won't take you for like won't expect that you know stuff or that you can hold your ground. And I mean there's been situations where I've been working, I don't know, on a truck and stripping stuff down or stuff, and I don't know, and people coming over and saying if they should call a man to help me and stuff like that. I mean, I think that's for every woman in male-based jobs, but it can be harder, but it also can be, I mean, maybe there are also advantages, I don't know. It's just, I wouldn't think of winemaking as a male job, but also, I mean, it's 80-90% males, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I've had talks with the owner of the winery, and he was asking me and a friend about, I don't know, what tractor to buy and stuff. It was in Canada, and we were standing there, 3 people, and he was asking the guy all the questions, and I was like, I'm the one that owns those tractors, that knows how to drive them. He's from our valley. He has super steep slopes. So he never used the tractor. How should he know, right? So it's quite a. I think you're not seen as competent as you are sometimes, but I mean, otherwise. You also have sometimes more of the spotlight on you because you're a female, right? It's just, I don't know.
So that's really a silver lining.
And also, it's a lot of the old people that come to you and ask, I don't know, where's your husband? Is your husband making the wine? I'm like, why? And once a woman asked me, like, so are you making the wine? I was like, yeah, that's my job.
Yeah.
She's like, and what does your husband do? First, I've got no husband. I don't know. I can work without a man, and also, you know, my boyfriend, he's a winemaker as well, but in another winery, and it's just people are always stunned that that's your main job, is being a winemaker.
But I hope to see more, actually. It's kind of, I think, similar to politics.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of people think, okay, politicians, they should be male.
Yeah.
But I think the world will be, or actually has gotten better since we have more female politicians. And I think the wine world will also, because diversity, I think, is really good for the wine world too.
Yeah,
and also not only in terms of winemakers, but also in terms of wine regions. So more and more up and coming. So, for example, yesterday we drank a Chardonnay from the Czech Republic.
Cool. Yeah, that's nice.
I never even drank a Czech wine from the Czech Republic.
Me either.
And then it was really interesting, kind of fishy nose, to be honest. But it's interesting, you know, just as you said, just to try.
Yeah, just to see what's happening all over the world.
True. And
I was like working in Canada in the wine industry. The fun part was that nobody that worked there started out in the wine industry, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody here either grows up in a winery, grows up in a wine region. Some of the people come from gastro, but everybody has some connection to wine. Yeah. And my cellar master, or like the winemaker in the winery, he studied biology, and then he was a full-time brewer. So he brewed beer for years, and then he turned to winemaking because he thinks it's more fun and it's more of an art. And everybody else there didn't start out in the wine industry, and they were so much more open-minded to every possibility. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things in the wine industry, because everybody's like, I'll try anything, and if it's not my taste, it's fine, right? It's quite tolerant, I think. True. Or can be, not every time. I mean, there's also those hardcore, I don't know,
there are some
traditionalists, but
but
I think wine brings people together.
I think so too, and also a good talking point, because I just remember another Chardonnay, for example, from Argentina, when we sat at the park. That was a completely other Chardonnay. So when we were just talking about planting Chardonnay, it's in Argentina or in Czech Republic, they all produce the same French grape, and they want to aim for something different, but it's really just, I think it's Wahnsinn that you can really just use this product or artwork, or I don't know how, but just a positive example of globalization, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So maybe can we try the Queen or the King, or I don't know?
Yeah, the Bastei, the flagship, or I don't know.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
But all of these wines have really lighter color, this straw-like, or?
Yeah. But I mean, we don't aim for color. It's just, so it's quite long, right? There's so much. It still stays in your mouth, and it goes on and on and on. I think that's a fun part. So just so you can see it again, so this is the clip, right? And right underneath is the vineyard. So this part here. So it's 0.5 hectares for us. And it's just, as you see, cliff, vineyard, street, railroad,
and the Nahe. This is a Nahe?
This is a Nahe, It's quite small. And it's still steep slope right here. So.
But we also saw some fences which maybe blocks the rocks falling down to the road. So how can you? It's quite dangerous to work there.
So apparently, always when I've been in the vineyard, it's fine. It was only once a car driving into the vineyard there. So but it drove in there like a few hours after we've been there.
Okay.
And then we've got the fences. But yeah, there are those fences blocking the street, so there won't be rocks falling down. And it never happened something with us, but we try not to go in the vineyard when there is a lot of temperature change, so the rocks splitting up and the cracking. So we won't go in there when it's cold and the sun will be on it. Right? So we will go there before the sun will be there at, I don't know, 9, 10. And I've just recently heard the story from my father that there's once has been a guy working there that was almost hit, but it was, I don't know, in the 50s or something. And that person never went there again. So I don't know. But all our workers have been safe so far.
If you are a listener, actually, you should check out the video. Or I will also put some pictures on the Instagram. Sure. But it's really like, if you see it, it's...
Yeah, you should also, if you drive there, you should just go inside and just walk there. You can park here or there, and just walk into the vineyard.
We will. Yeah. Okay.
It's quite cool. Also, I don't know if it stops raining. There's this cool walk up on the hill. You could walk along the cliff.
And that is a viewpoint, no?
Yeah. Okay. You could do that too. If you drive up and you do, like, you walk fast, it's 30-45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, walk.
Okay. That's one bottle of wine on the road.
Yeah.
For sure. Nice, but it's really like you are you make a lot of sacrifice and to work in these vineyards, and also quite difficult, I would imagine, just to stay there, right, in this steep terraces.
Yeah, because you have no hard ground to stand on, right? Because everything
really
is
stone.
Like, it's almost like walking on dunes, with the sand, but it's all small rocks. Yeah. But I mean, if you have wines like that later on, I think it's worth it.
But it's I still feel the wine in my mouth, and I found it in these little corners or signs in the mouth. But I get more fruits in this, and more on this kind of yellow apple, these queens kind of aromas, but almost these preserved kind of aromas as the time goes on. Because the other wine, the Kupfergrube, it really grabbed my mouth at some point, and it just wanted to squeeze out. It's really sparse. It's really like no fruit. It's just wants to fight kind of. But this is a luxury wine. Also.
I always, if I have the tastings, I always call this the more monumental one because there's so much going on. It's so long. It's so dense. Also, you have like complete minerality, but also the fruit.
Yeah,
right?
True.
And that's what I said. I think if you see all those faces of this porphyry wines, you will always have the fruit. I don't know, how should I produce a wine that is sparse as Kupfergrube from this soil, right? Yeah. So I think it's kind of in the DNA of the porphyry to always have some fruit in it.
Yeah.
And even in this, the most concentrated you will get it, you still have the fruit.
Yeah.
So that's quite fun. And
true. And so much extraction too. Do you also have this data maybe, or you look at this data dry extraction?
We look at at the extract we look. But from this one, I don't know. I always, when we get the analysis, we just look at it and think, oh, that's a lot, or that's not a lot. And you can always combine it with how the year went, right? Because extraction always works together with how well was the vine fed with water and minerals. But I mean, I always also say that everybody knows that the harder the grape or the vine has to work, the more flavorful and more concentrated the wine will be, and I think that's quite a perfect example. Sure. It's just I can show you a picture on my phone I have of a vine on this soil. So where is it? There you go, right? So,
so it's basically no subsoil.
Yeah, right. There's just
no topsoil. Just.
And this is all the colors of porphyry, basically.
Wow, nice. Wow, you should put those on Instagram.
Yeah, I had them. I put all those pictures together for an online tasting of all the GG vineyards. I actually should post those on Instagram. I've been doing more on Instagram, but I still could be doing so much more.
But I think it's really worth following also wineries, because it's also a really great platform, Instagram, I think. Just to follow up the background stories.
But the hard part is for the person using those, or for me, as I should be filling those, or it should be filling Instagram. For me, it's super hard to understand when my work is interesting for other people, because it's just my day-to-day business, right? You go about and do your thing in the vineyard and go home, and you're like, maybe I should have posted that, because people would be thinking it's super interesting and are so into it. True. And for me, it's just a day at the office, basically, right?
You know, also my social media manager says sometimes that I should post more, because maybe for me it's that I drink wine every day, and I taste, I make tasting notes. But maybe for some people it would be interesting how to look up things, and just to see also in books maybe how, or for you in the winery, what you look for in a wine, or how to rack it actually, because you know, yesterday we cleaned the barrel. So
really?
I never seen those, and it's interesting. Because maybe some people who were never in the cellar, they didn't know that the yeast you should bring out with a special brush from the barrel, and how to seal it with the wax, and you know, like how would you know it? But it's interesting. It's craftsmanship, I think, and it's so few professions nowadays which is really hard work and handwork, craftsmanship. You cannot really go to a factory and make wine, because you need them. So,
at least to make some, like, at least if you're making wine that has some
character
and origin, and
but yesterday I also felt in the cellar that, you know, for them, as you said, it's day-to-day business, but I felt like a guy in a circus.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like,
I mean, for me, it's always, if I go someplace where I know the person working is doing their work right, and they know what they do, it's always so fun to watch, right? I mean, even if you're at the hairdresser and they're cutting you, like, exactly. What are they doing? I don't even. And I feel like that's a lot of this, or it's the same for a lot of people thinking about winemakers. If they see them working, they're like, "Whoa, that's how it works."
Exactly.
And they seem to know what they're doing. And,
and you just go by routine, and
it's always, and I mean, as every person, every day, you're sometimes like, I don't know if that's right.
But this wine really, really great length. The other one, I really missed the fatness. I think from a food. From a food pairing, it really needs maybe some grilled kind of fatty, maybe a pig, what you mentioned, kind of this fatty protein is slightly burned kind of thing. But this wine, I think the Bastei would go well with a lot of dishes.
Yeah, for sure.
And also with a lot of kind of creamy things, but also a lot of sauces, because it has the body, it has the acidity, it has the complexity.
For me, this is also a wine that would work well. I mean, you said like the smoky stuff with the Kupfergrube, but also this, if you have Bastei and you have it a little bit more aged, for me, there's no use in like a red wine for meat anymore, because aged Riesling Kupfergrube work perfectly well with like big meat, like big cuts or anything right from the grill. Works out great. Or also for like I don't know, for stews and stuff, works out great too. There's so much density and length, and it's stereotype that needs to be like washed away. That you only can bring reds to meats. And I think it works out great.
But also,
especially if aged.
But also you can drink red with fish. That's another thing which you should be washed away.
Elegant, like slightly acidic,
not so tannic.
Not so tannic, not so like, super fruity. More.
Like for example, the guy yesterday showed me a bottle 1949 Beaujolais. Like this is really a gummy. It would be also really nice with fish, but that's a lot of people, as you said, aged Riesling. A lot of people don't think about light or thin-skinned grape varieties that they could age. Only Pinot Noir maybe, but that's not true. That's really not. Really, this wine could also develop with age, not just Cabernet Sauvignon and things like that. So that's also another thing That should be cleared out. Okay, thank you very much, Rebecca. Would you like to add something maybe more, or do you have some actualities which you like to promote maybe?
I don't know. No, actually, I don't know.
You also have a lot of sweet wines as well.
I have a lot of sweet wines. We could maybe drink a cabinet. I mean, cabinet's always fun.
Okay.
We could drink the cabinet from Kupfergrube, so you can see how it is in comparison in sweet.
Okay,
So
yeah.
that would be
Wow,
also
yeah,
18,
okay.
and it could be nice.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks.
And that's actually the end of our conversation, because the charming cabinet has made me forget about the very purpose I arrived to this wonderful winery for. So we really enjoyed our staying at the drcrusius winery, and I can still remember all those wines singing their sense of place in that alluring tasting room in Traisen. So I urge you to look for our video and about the Bastei GG on the wineghosts Instagram or YouTube channel, and of course try the Crusius wines for yourself, and I promise they won't delude you. Did you like this episode and want to hear more? Would you recommend me a new guest or just want to get in contact? Then please leave your rating on iTunes under the channel, or send me an email to the email address in the description, or contact me in the wineghosts Instagram or Facebook site. See you next week and keep on enjoying